All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today is Monday, March 5th. Today's bell ringer is a question that looks at the anxieties of the Great Depression and wants you to kind of address what happens, or what do you believe happens to these anxieties from the Depression when World War II begins, and why do you believe this? So, the question is relatively simple. First off, I want you to think about what anxieties did most Americans face during the Great Depression, not World War II, but during the Great Depression. Think about some of those anxieties, and then think about and then write down, how do you believe World War II addressed any of those anxieties? So that's kind of what we're looking at here for today, to where you can, address your particular ideas and your understandings for that bell ringer. All right. So take the time to write this down, and then we're gonna get moving on here. Those of you that missed last Thursday, you go to Canvas, you notice that on my dashboard here, if you go to my U.S. history page, and I'll show you where to get through here. All right. When the units come up, you can kind of see that on World War II. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, I have what we did on Thursday about making the sacrifices at home. I watched a YouTube, obviously I gave a YouTube video from the class on Thursday last week, and then I have a worksheet that I have here, 596 to 597, to complete this worksheet. So if you go through these pages, download this worksheet, bring that up, and you can type your answers up based on what I have here. So, if you're going to take that process, pause the video now, download, print out, do whatever you got to do to make sure you can get the worksheet and write down some of the answers I'm going to give you here. All right. So, when you open up, what you'll do is you'll get this worksheet. Now, preparing the economy for war. It's 6 questions. I'm going to go through some of these answers here to kind of help you get through some of this material. But the first question asked from the worksheet, and this is often we do current events in class. So this is kind of like how we finish up the class today. There's a video that we watched that I'll post at the bottom of this stuff on Canvas here. But if you get through some of these questions, we're going to look at these. So why did President Roosevelt create the Office of War Mobilization? Mostly was to centralize all resources for war. Because if you have all these resources that come together in one location, you want everybody on the same page. So you create one organization to micromanage all of it, at least, not to say micromanage, but to manage everything that kind of exists or is going to exist for the war effort. So that's kind of what your goal is here. All right. Stop kind of similar font sizes here. All right. Next one. What happened to manufactured consumer goods when World War II started? So this is all about the production of wartime materials. So the government enlists the help of all of its companies throughout the country, all of these major industries that produce on a mass scale, and also they produce in a mass production sort of way, like an assembly line sort of way. All these factories that include this mass production, they stop their consumer goods, whatever they're making, and they are asked by the government to produce goods for war. So this is very important to the benefit of the people moving forward, because it gives more and more opportunity for individuals to work in the wartime industry. So this is kind of what your bell ringer we're focused on as well, and we're going to look at number 4 here as well. All right. So looking at the next one, how did Henry Kaiser contribute to wartime production? All right. So use mass production techniques to create these Liberty ships. Now, the one thing that was unique about these ships, all right, these ships could be built in 40 days, which is impressive to say the least. We go through 40 days in less than a marking period. So, everything that's less than a marking period here at school is done in less than 40 days. So, it's remarkable as to how fast you could create a ship. And throughout the entire school year, you could have probably 4 ships built, maybe 5 if you're lucky. So, definitely very, very effective to get these ships built at this point. So, create Liberty ships using mass production techniques. And again, these are going to be built in 40 days. Now, what did this contribution do to help the war effort? These ships were all about being used carry supplies, and troops. By carrying supplies and troops to the fronts of the war. All right. So, and when you have a lot of these ships, they can carry a lot. They don't take a long time to make. You're not using a ton of resources to make them. You're really being very cost effective here in terms of what you're doing to pretty much help this war effort out. All right. So, so we're looking at for number 3 now. Number 4, how does war production help the average American in the years from 1940 to 1945? Pretty simple answer is that, So it's about giving Americans the jobs they lost during the Great Depression. And this is all in wartime industries. All right? So very, very big opportunity for the average American here to work in an industry for war and also to help produce the materials needed to help win the war. So these people knew that they had not only just they had a direct connection to winning the war, and it was very beneficial for them, for the mentality to help them out with that, all right? Next question is what happened to labor unions during the war. Well, with more workers and the need for more workers, if you think about it from a mathematical standpoint, if you have more workers, then you have membership going up. Because if you're not losing workers, you're not losing members in the union. Excuse me. So, membership. Membership of labor unions goes up drastically here because you have more workers and they feel like they need the protection, so that they join the union. Now, the next question looks at, did unions change the policy on strikes knowing they would have to sacrifice their goals for the war effort? The question would be yes and no. Strikes did happen because the government enacts a lot more restrictions on wages in terms of the ability for people to increase their wages, but it's also something that the American people look at as saying, our prices for these goods are still going up and our wages are staying the same. So, for them to collectively bargain their rights, that's very important to them. So they're going to strike, but at the same time, a lot of them sacrifice their own personal goals as workers for the war effort. They say it's not worth us halting production, which is going to hurt our boys overseas. That was kind of the mentality. So it was kind of a yes and no issue. In fact, I argue that the strikes there's no change drastically with the strikes. We don't have more strikes, we don't have less strikes. That the events of them happening don't really change a whole lot. But people still understood that strikes were necessary to make sure and enforce that they needed what they wanted. And again, a lot of these companies that are being asked by the government to make and produce goods for war are being asked by the government because they're reliant. If they don't have a workforce that they can keep hold under their situation, at least in their workplace, it can be very bad for them in terms of an image perspective, because they want to make sure they can be relied upon by the government to, win the war and help provide what's needed to win the war. So this is really big for these companies. All right, finally, last but not least, how do the government pay for the war? There's 3 different ways that we pay for the war. First way, well, let me go back here. I'll help you out. Give you some nice bullet points here. Number 1. All right. So number 1, higher taxes. Number 2 is war bonds. And number 3 is deficit spending. All right. So these are the 3 ways that we raise a lot of money, and this is essentially borrowing. That's how we borrow the monies from the banks. All right. Now, national debt goes from 14 billion, not million. That's million with a B. 14 billion to 43 billion. All right. So huge increase in the debt at this point, and definitely something that we can utilize in the future to at least look back on saying, what does our debt get out of control? We could probably use this as a reason. But in total, the United States, in terms of money total in this war, spends $321 billion on this war. You think about that in today's money, you're looking close towards, close to $1 trillion. That's what this war is costing for us at this point. So, not a great, it's a lot of spending. You're raising the money. However, at the same time, the United States is only about they could raise about 290 some billion of this money. So, they could raise it through the taxes and get it through war bonds. But the problem is we still have to borrow money for the rest of it because we don't have it all. So, if you want to pause this at any time, I'll go to the top here. Here's the first question. You can pause this now to get these answers. And then if you want to go down here to the bottom, you can get these and pause for these answers. All right? That's all I got for you today. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to come ask me or email me. I will make sure my Canvas page is updated for the video for today. I'll make sure we kind of have this stuff updated because they see I have 3-1. I'll put it for today's. And don't forget to check this video out, all right? Everybody have a fantastic day. See ya. Bye.